For decades now, there's been this fascinating and honestly pretty frustrating mystery playing out in South Asia. You've got countries like Vietnam and India just exploding onto the scene, becoming export powerhouses. And then there's Pakistan, whose growth has just been kind of sluggish. So, what's going on here? Why has a country with such a great location and a huge workforce struggled so much to keep up? Well, let's dive into this economic puzzle and see what we can find.
And right away, the numbers just jump out at you. I mean, the contrast is incredible. Between 2001 and 2023, Pakistan's exports did grow, sure, from about 10.5 billion to 36 billion. That's not nothing. But then you look at Vietnam. Over that exact same period, their exports shot up from just under 18 billion to over 375 billion dollars. That's not a gap, that's a whole different economic universe.
So, this really is the central question, isn't it? It's clearly not about a lack of potential. It's about a failure to unlock that potential. So, what are the hidden barriers, the structural flaws that have been holding Pakistan's export engine back? To figure this out, we're going to treat this like a real investigation. We're digging into a deep dive analysis from the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics. And they have uncovered three major clues that might just help us solve this great export puzzle.
Okay, so clue number one. This one suggests the problem really starts at home. The very policies that are supposed to be shaping the economy have actually created what experts call an anti-export bias. Think of it like a form of internal sabotage, where the system accidentally makes it way more profitable for businesses to just sell stuff locally instead of even trying to compete on the world stage. And a main culprit here is something called cascading tariffs. So here's how it works. The government puts a tax, a tariff, on raw materials coming into the country. The manufacturer who buys those materials has to pay that tax, so they pass the cost on. But then, if their product is used to make something else, another tariff might get tacked on. By the time you get to the finished product, it's just loaded down with all these layers of taxes, making it way more expensive than it should be.
And this chart really shows just how extreme this situation is. It's looking at the gap between the taxes on finished goods and the taxes on raw materials. The bigger that gap, the worse the cascading effect. And look at that. Among the top 20 countries with this problem, Pakistan is number 2, right behind Egypt. This whole structure is basically screaming at businesses, don't bother exporting. So here's the kicker, the really crucial point. These high tariffs aren't just some small problem. They're a direct hit to the very heart of Pakistan's export economy. Because get this, a staggering 81% of the country's total exports come from firms that absolutely need to import these materials to make their products. So the policy is literally taxing its own best players right out of the game.
All right, let's move on to our second clue. So let's say a Pakistani company can somehow overcome all those internal problems. Well, now they face this brutal obstacle course just to compete globally. We're calling this the Global Competitiveness Gauntlet. So, the Logistics Performance Index basically measures how fast and efficiently a country can move goods. Pakistan scores a 2.4 out of 5. Now, compare that to its neighbors. India's at 3.4, China's at 3.7. In the world of international trade, speed and reliability are everything. That gap you see isn't just a number. It translates into real-world delays and higher costs that make Pakistani goods way less attractive to buyers.
And when you dig into the details, it gets even more specific. Ranking 122nd in the world is already pretty tough, but you can see exactly where the bottlenecks are. The country is 139th when it comes to how efficient its customs process is, and 121st for the quality of its roads and ports. These aren't just stats, they are hurdles that add time and money to every single shipment that tries to leave the country. And then, on top of all that, you've got the quality problem. Getting international certifications like the famous ISO 9000 can boost a company's chances of exporting by 44%. That is a massive advantage. But the awareness in Pakistan is shockingly low. Less than half of the firms there are even aware of this critical standard. And that just locks them out of these super valuable markets in Europe and North America that absolutely demand this kind of compliance. Okay, so this brings us to our third and final clue. You would think, right, with all these challenges, that the government support systems would be perfectly designed to help out. But the evidence, well, it suggests the engine that's supposed to be boosting exports is often misfiring, or even worse, pushing things in the completely wrong direction.
And this quote from the research paper just says it all. The government subsidies, the money that should be helping new, innovative companies break into global markets, ends up going to the big, established, and often politically connected firms. This just starves the most dynamic and exciting parts of the economy of the resources they need to grow and try new things. And you can see this playing out in major trade deals, too. Take the free trade agreement with China. Pakistani exporters are only using about 5% of the special, cheaper tariff lines that are available to them. Meanwhile, Chinese companies are using 57% of their special lines to sell to Pakistan. This lopsided result just screams missed opportunity and shows a real lack of ability to actually take advantage of these big trade deals. So, after looking at all these clues, what's the verdict? What's the solution to this puzzle? How can Pakistan finally unlock its huge export potential? I think the most important takeaway here is that there's no single villain in this story. The reason for the stagnation is this complex, tangled web. You've got self-inflicted wounds, these external obstacles, and broken support systems all mixed together. High internal taxes are punishing exporters, weak logistics are making them uncompetitive, and the help that's supposed to be there just isn't getting the job done. This product space map does a great job of showing both the challenge and the opportunity. So think of this like a map of the global economy. Each dot is a different product. That big, dense green area, that's where Pakistan's exports are now, heavily concentrated in textiles. The path forward, the way to grow, is to move towards those more complex, higher-value products in the blue and yellow areas, things like machinery and electronics. That's what it means to move up the value chain. So based on all this evidence, the paper lays out a pretty clear roadmap. Step 1, fix the tariff system so it stops punishing the very people you want to help. Step 2, make serious investments in modernizing ports, roads, and customs. Step 3, completely overhaul this subsidy system so it rewards innovation and new companies, not just the big guys. And finally, Step 4, create targeted policies that actually help companies make that difficult leap into more sophisticated products. The recommendations are clear, but let's be real. The political and economic challenges are huge. So the final question is still out there. After decades of falling behind, can Pakistan finally untangle this web of constraints and hurdles to build the kind of dynamic, diverse export economy it needs for the 21st century? The potential is absolutely there, but the race against time is definitely on.